criminal, civil, and administrative law. Criminal law is where society is the victim. So that's why you'll see things like, a case will be called something like People of the State of California versus whomever. And in criminal law, the crime has to be proven beyond a reasonable doubt. And the punishment could be anything from incarceration to financial penalties, all the way up to, depending on what country you live in or what state in America you live in, the death penalty. That's like the ultimate, obviously. Then you have civil law. So in civil law, it's the person or organization who would potentially be the victim. And tort law is associated with civil law. I'm actually sort of unclear on how tort law relates to civil law overall. I have it written down: when an injury results from someone violating their responsibility to provide due care, and that tort is the primary component of civil law. I'm just not clear on how that's different from civil law in general. But in civil law, the burden of proof is preponderance, which is different than reasonable doubt, and it basically means that it's more likely than not that it took place, and usually the damages are financial. So you have three major types of damages with civil law. You have statutory, which is based on what the law is and or says is owed to a victim, and it doesn't really matter how much the victim actually suffered as a result. It's literally, it follows what the statute says or the law. Compensatory is where you, when an injury is proven, it compensates for the actual loss or injury. So it's more to do with how much of an injury the person had, and not necessarily just based on the statute. And then you have punitive damages, which is where you're looking to really like punish someone for doing something really bad. And so it doesn't necessarily relate to what the statute says specifically. And it's more to do with discouraging the organization from doing something bad. And it could be millions and millions and millions of dollars for something that might seem sort of small. And so the major differences between criminal law and civil law are that in criminal law you have jail, in civil law you have fines. In criminal law, typically it's a punishment, and in civil law it's really about compensating the victim. And the last one is administrative law. And it's laws that are enacted by governmental agencies as opposed to by statute. And some of the examples are like the FCC and HIPAA laws and FDA regulations, FAA, all that sort of thing. It doesn't necessarily require input from the legislative branch, and but they have to adhere to the confines of civil and criminal laws. So those are the three major legal types.